Morning, everybody. So today should probably be out here grinding on the truck because all that's welded up. But we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to go revisit an old project. In fact, it's the project that last one I did before I started this channel, and this was a car that belonged to a good friend of mine, not a car guy. A guy I played music with him at church, and then we had a little three-piece blues band that rock and blues band that we played with for a few years. Younger guy, drummer, excellent drummer. So this was actually his grandpa's car that when his grandpa passed, this car went to him. It had been sitting forever. It's a 1977 Grand Prix. So we did a bunch of work to this thing to get it roadworthy. But anyway, we're going to go down there. He moved about an hour away from me. The car's been in his garage, and he really hasn't touched it in 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. So we want to get it running again. Maybe we can take it down the street if we do, and he kind of wants to figure out where he wants to go with it from here. So we're going to get some tools up. We're going to take a drive about an hour south of me, and we're going to show you the car and everything we did to it and see if we can get this thing up and running again and kind of go from there. So a little different thing on the channel today. So let me gather up some tools, throw it in the old van. We'll see if we need some gas, and we'll hit the road. And this should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to something a little bit different. So, all right, let's see what we got.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
So we got stuff loaded up, and we're on the road headed towards Harryville, Missouri. So, pretty nice little town. If anybody's been down there, good historic Missouri town. So a little background on this car. I'll try not to talk too much about it now. We'll talk more when we actually get there. But like I said, my buddy Andrew, this was his grandpa's car. 77 Grand Prix, nothing fancy. Brown bench seat car. The old super plush couch type interior. But this car, his grandpa drove it for a long time. Andrew had a lot of good memories of this car when riding in it when he was young. But this car sat for quite a while before he got a hold of it. And I'll tell you what, this thing was rough. And when he asked me, did I think we could save it? I mean, the quarter panels were rusted out almost all the way to the upper body line. The trunk lid was completely rusted out. The floors behind the driver's seat was completely rusted out. The interior was just trash. Pretty much, and then it had the Landau top on it, so you can imagine the top sheet metal under the Landau vinyl was a Swiss cheese. But the car meant something to him, and we wanted to try to save it, so we hit it hard for about a good 9 months. And we got a donor car, which was a different year. It was a 73 Grand Prix, a little bit different car. But we were able to do some pretty cool stuff to it and get it to where it's ready for some final body work and paint. We'll go over that when I actually get there. But anyway, I won't talk about it too much now. We'll talk about it when we actually get there. We can look at the car and I can show it to you. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of travel time on the video here. So anyway, we'll let's get down there, and we'll go over the car, take a look at it, and see if we can get Andrew to to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll see if we can get this thing maybe up and running and take a cruise around the block in it today. And you know, his overall goal was to actually get this thing painted and looking really good. But when he couldn't find anybody to, you know, I told him I would do so much on it, and then he was going to look for a body guy to paint it, and then he hadn't found anybody. The car had been sitting. He bought a house. You know, life kind of gets in the way, so he was talking about selling the car, and I told him, I said, we mechanically did a lot of stuff to this thing. Why don't you just, let's get it, finish up the few things we need to get it running and driving, where you can just get in it and cruise down and get a burger, or cruise to the local car show. I mean, who cares if it's finished or not? You go to these car shows, and there's a lot of old cars that are in process, or don't have nice paint on them. It's the memories that you want to hang on to. So all the work we did, at least get the thing running and driving to where you can enjoy it a little bit. So that's what we're going to try to work on today. So I'll end this here. We'll check in a little bit as we're on the road. Check in when we get there. So we made it to town. Had to stop for a little bathroom break. So let's hit the last little trek over to Andrew's house and finally get a look at this thing. All right, so we made it down. Enjoyed talking to everybody on the way. This is my buddy Andrew. We have played music together for many years, and this is the car we're talking about. I know you can't see too much of it in the picture now, but just kind of wanted to give a little explanation of this thing, and then we'll take a walk around it. We'll talk about everything we did to it from the start, and then we'll see if we can get this thing to live a little bit again. I think the battery's dead, so we're going to have to start with jumping it, and we'll go from there. So, Andrew, why don't you give me a little background on this thing? I know this car has been in your life for like a whole lot of years.
Yeah, my grandpa, Charlie Stratton, had this car for many years in Bollinger County and found it in a field. This is where he had found it, and he had it for many years, kept this thing running, and it was his pride and joy. And I inherited it about 4 years ago when he passed, and I wanted to bring it back to life, and Pat was the mastermind, able to step in and like figure out the project here, and we kind of restored it and got most of the way restoring it, and we did the Frankenstein, I guess, transformation here with the back half of another Grand Prix onto the front half of this car, and now we're hopefully bringing it back to life here and getting it running. So, yeah, it was the Fairleigh Stratton car, my grandpa, and 77 Pontiac Grand Prix that he had at that time. So, or I shouldn't say at that time, but he had it. He didn't have it back in the day, but he had it later on, and he always liked these old cars like this. So,
okay, cool. So let's take a little walk around, and I'll kind of tell you where we started. So this thing was in pretty rough shape when we started on it. It was, we'll start at the back here. So pretty much everything from here back was gone with rust, including the top. It had a Landau top on it. It was rusted away to nothing. The quarters were rusted away all the way up to here. The trunk pan was gone. The floorboards were gone. So we found a 73 Grand Prix, which is not a direct swap. The back end was a little bit longer, but and the interior was toast on this thing. So basically what we did is cut the whole back half off the 73 and welded the sheet metal onto here. Now the quarters weren't fantastic, but we didn't have any other quarters. They've still got a lot of filler in them. We went ahead and put them on here with the thought that we'll go ahead and fix them later, which is probably, hopefully, still going to happen. But the roof skin from here back is the 73. All this is 73. Quarters, trunk lid. I think the 73 is a little sportier in the back end. So it looks different than the 77. We had to extend the trunk pan out a little bit. It's a couple inches longer in the back, but we basically went off this body line and this body line. So this panel is 77. We kept that, and the trunk lid fit that body line good. So that's kind of where we staged everything off of it, and it came out really good. Andrew learned all about cleaning up rust and applying POR 15. So he did a lot of that. We did a lot of the metal work. What else came off? The entire interior came off the 73, which this had a brown interior, so we switched it to black. And whoever had this 73 had done like a custom leather interior, which turned out pretty slick. So we transplanted dash, console, seats, door panels. It's got new carpet in it. And it was a bench seat car. We made it a bucket seat car. And then the whole front, all the brakes are new, all the brake lines are new, the whole front suspension came apart. Anything that was questionable got changed, everything cleaned up, POR 15 painted. We pulled all of these inner panels out, the wheel wells out, all that got cleaned up, POR 15. This has an Oldsmobile 403. We pulled this thing apart, and it had already been rebuilt once, and it was 60 over. So there was no boring it out again. But once I got it running after it'd been sitting for several years, it didn't smoke. So we went in and left the pistons alone, left the rings alone. The cylinders looked good. There was no ridge in them. We did change the rod bearings. They had a little bit of wear in them, but the crank looked good. The mains looked good. We put all new gaskets in it. That Quadrajet was pretty questionable. So we put a rebuild kit in it, but it just wasn't in that good a shape. So we got a new Quadrajet back there. We're going to try to get on this thing today and hopefully get it running. So what else do we do? New radiator. Like I said, all the brake stuff is new. Looks like we got a transmission pan leak that I don't know if we'll deal with today. I didn't bring a jack, but that'll have to be dealt with. But to actually finish the car, I mean, the metal work is pretty good. We just need these quarters done. So I cut off the bottom of that where the metal was bad. There's a lot of filler in these quarters. So we'd have to grind all that filler off and see what's there that could be savable. I'm hoping we could probably have to make wheel arches for it. Can't really see over here, but all the glass was taken out and resealed. But most of where the rust came from was this back glass leaking for years. Okay, so there's a new remanufactured Q-Jet. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get some jumper cables on this thing, get this battery charging, and we'll go ahead and pull this carburetor off and get it swapped out and see what we can do, see if we can get this thing to make some noise. So, okay, back in a few. All right, so battery is dead. Don't have a jump vac, which I did, but that may be on my next tool purchase list. So we're gonna let this charge for a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and pull this quadra junk off here and put the other one on. I think this one is this one is electric choke. The electric choke conversion. That other one is hot air choke. So we'll have to change we'll have to put the hot air electric choke conversion on this one also. So let's let this charge. We'll get this swapped. Hopefully by then we'll have enough juice in there to crank this thing over, and we'll see what we got here. All right, so we got the carburetor swapped out, and we're gonna run over to the farm and home store. And one of the bolts on the back of that carburetor is just a little too short. It's not getting down in threads, so we're gonna go change that. Found out Andrew's got a battery charger, so we got this charging. So it's actually starting to turn over a little bit now. Maybe by the time we get back, we'll have enough battery to give this thing a shot and see what we got here. So back in a few. All right, so we got carb changed out. Let's give it a shot here, see what happens. Wanna crank it? Just let the vacuum line up. All right, try again. I hope. Crank it and then let off when it starts. Okay. Yep, hang on, we got a little gas leak up here. Try again.
All right.
Keep going. I can hear it pumping. You gotta get the fuel bowl full. Go ahead.
Okay, so no gas and stuff?
No, I got it. Again. Keep going. Hang on a second. Got gas in the gas line because I saw it. Okay. transmission fan leak, and there's not enough fluid in there to engage it. So we need to address that leak before we try to drive it. We're not going to do that today, but we did get it running, and it's sounding pretty good. So looks like the problem is what we thought it was with that old junk water jet. So I think we'll call it with that for today. We did get it running again. We'll wrap it up, we'll get some lunch, then we'll do another episode. We'll come down and fix that transmission fan leak, get some fluid in it, and take the thing down the road. Yeah, that sounds really good, man. Good. So we got 50 pounds of oil pressure. Bolts look good. Yep, I think we're in good shape. Okay, let's go get some lunch, and we'll that'll be it for this one, and we're gonna do another one where we're gonna drive this thing. So look for that coming up in a near episode. Alright, so here's the payoff for working on the old Grand Prix. We're going to do lunch over at Stoney's Sausage Shop. Good old German cuisine. So it's going to be good. So let's see what we can get in there. Alright, so this looks really good. And I don't have my sandwich, but this is definitely not for vegetarians. Homemade brats. Alright, Berryville, Missouri, established 1831. Good old historic town, and I'll tell you what, if you're ever down this way, make sure you try that Stoney's Sausage Shop. Good food, good groceries. I probably should have took something home for my wife, but I'd probably eat it if I did, and I don't need to eat that stuff all the time. But man, it was good. Had me a big old meat sandwich with lots of cheese on a pretzel bun, and a big old pile of homemade chips. That trip. As far as the message today, you know, I just want to tell people, you know, Andrew and I are good buddies, but not only in music, but in our faith. We met at church playing music together. He's a good Christian young man, and it's really nice to get down and talk to him. He's almost like a son to me. He's kind of the age of